now I think you just say that that's okay. Oh yeah, the other thing I'm going to say is, of course, we're not in the room together, which is wonderful for people living in France and far away from me, but means that it's more challenging for me to see. I can see you all quite clearly looking at your setups, actually, so that's great. But you're in charge, it's your body. And so there is going to be an owning of your stuff, an owning of your own comfort and of your own ease. There is no benefit to enduring anything. Our bodies don't actually really like enduring anything. They want to be loved, treated well and kindly. So I would like you to be the judge of anything that doesn't feel right for you, the judge of when you want to stop doing something, the judge of when you need to sort of have a little bit of a stretch or a something else. So that's me just handing that over to you. If there's anything that's particularly wrong with your body, you've got this issue or that issue, you're welcome to share that with me so I'm aware of it. That's absolutely fine. I'm not that uninterested in you. And the first thing we're going to look at today is the top of your spine and the last movable area of your spine, that lumbosacral junction. And because not everyone is as enthusiastic about anatomy as me, I thought I'd show a couple of pictures because I do like a visual aid. And the first one, and of course I'm not terribly fancy, I haven't done a share screen or anything, I'm literally holding a book up to you. So the first one is the lumbosacral joint. It is down here in the small of your back, where your lumbar spine, your lower spine that curves in towards the body, so that's curving in this way to give us that lumbar curve, that curves in. When it starts to come back out again, it joins the sacrum. Give you a little picture of that. I mean, I'm sure loads of you know this. That, oh, hello, I need a third hand. That's your sacrum bone. It's the back of your pelvis. It's a bone that makes up the last, it's all fused. It's all movable at one stage, I'm sure, in our evolution, but it's fused. It's a big triangular bone. This is going to be a side view. This is the sacrum, and it goes down into your tail. Is that clear enough for you all to see? Yeah, okay, thanks for the nods. So there it is. This is your lumbar spine, and of course that would snake all the way up that spine. This is the front of it. This is your chunky body of the spine, and these back bits, those are the bits that if you touch your back, you can feel poking out, little, they're called spinous processes, and they're just sort of sticking out. We're going to be looking at, she's coming back again, there's a junction here. This all moves, doesn't it? We know that. We know the spine is sort of snaking and moving. And this is the last point that it really has that lovely snaking movement. It goes down then into the pelvis, that fixed sacrum bone. That junction gets really jammy. So, and people are forever saying, oh, I've got this happening, or it messes up with the sacroiliac joints and all of that. And the other end of that spine, we're going to come up to another picture because we're at the top of the spine. And I'm showing you the back because I think it's easier to understand. This is the back of your head, or someone's. That's the back of your skull. This is the lower jawbone, down here. And you can see how low it is compared to how high up the spine goes in your head. Now, Alexander teachers are pretty obsessed with unlocking that, we call it the nodding joint. And we're always talking about, this is my drawing. We're always talking about releasing the head forwards and up. Now, I'm just going to clarify that with some fantastic impersonations. I don't want your neck forward. That's not what we're talking about. The whole column of the neck lengthens back and up, and the head pivots. That's the forward. It's a teeny tiny little nod. And we don't go around nodding our heads. What we're doing is saying we want to unlock that really top of the spine area to give the head availability for movement, so that if we need to, you know, move over here and look down somewhere there, the head is not fixed, it is released, because it's your counterbalance for your heavy pelvis. So I just wanted to explain all of this before we start, because it just makes life simpler. If you've locked the top of your spine, that lumbosacral junction down there is going to also be locked. They're like friends. Would anyone like to ask anything? Make an observation? Are we good? Okay, great. So, I don't know if I'm going to mute you all now, just to make sure that there's not lots of shuffling noises. And we're all going to lie down on our mats, and we're going to start in semi-supine. So if you need something under your head for a little bit of a support, that now is the time to shove it under there. And I'm just going to lie in semi-supine to show you what the deal is there, that we've got a little bit of, I've got a very small block under my head, and my knees are bent and my feet are on the floor, and there's not too much tension under my knees. I've got a bit of a gap there. It's quite loose around the backs of the knees. And the reason I've got you starting in semi-supine is that it's a position of mechanical advantage. So you're going to lie there for a minute or two, and I'm going to give you some things to think about. And if you've worked with me before, you know that this is a lovely thing to do for your body. So I would like, if possible, you to keep your eyes open so that the muscles in your body don't think that they're nodding off, that they're going back to sleep again. And you're going to be lying there with this little bit of support under your head. And I say little because unless you're a big rugby player with an enormous shoulder girdle or a very dropped neck, you're not going to need a very big support. It's to do with comfort and balance for your head. But as far as I can tell, everyone's looking good there. And we're going to think about these two junctions in the body, but we'll start at the top. We'll say, well, there's my heavy head, and believe me, it is heavy. And I'm going to leave that heavy head just resting on this block for a moment. And because you're sending that message to leave your heavy head resting on the block, you can say to your neck muscles that they can relax. They don't need to do anything. We'll just ask for an ease through the neck muscles. And you're going to set an intention that you're not going to lock down through that top nodding joint. So you're not going to fix your eyes. Your eyes are just resting in your head and gently looking around the room or the ceiling, not at anything in particular. And the other thing you're not going to fix is your jaw. So you're going to let your tongue soften in your mouth, wherever it lies, wherever it fits. And you're going to have an intention that the upper jawbone and the lower jawbone are easy. They're not gripping themselves together. Soft tongue and easy jaw. So we're creating a little bit of stillness here, a bit of release, but also a little bit of connecting up. Because from this top nodding joint, you're going to think your way just sweeping down your spine, and you can sweep your way with your thoughts either through the front of it or the back of it. I don't mind which. And you're going to take your thoughts all the way down through to the base of your spine, to that. And I call it the base of the spine because the other base of your spine will be your tail, just to clarify my language. So the base of your spine is that lumbosacral junction. It's the last moving part. And you're going to set an intention. You're going to give it a thought of unlocking. And because you're lying on your back like this, gravity is quite a friend here. And you can say to yourself, but if I can let go in the small of my back, I might find that I can unlock that lumbosacral junction. It might just feel easy in there. And while you're down here, while you're in your pelvis and your lower part of the body, I want you to think about those heavy thigh bones that you've got there, the left one and the right one, just resting back into your hip sockets. And as you're letting those heavy thigh bones rest back into your hip sockets, just be aware of the width and depth of your pelvis, a sort of body mapping, checking in. And because it's the morning and it's always nice to say hello to bits of the body, we're going to just say hello to your feet, just the left and the right, and you can have the intention of length and width through the feet, maybe even a little wiggle of the toes. And then take your awareness right back up to the very top of your spine again, that nodding joint. Send a message from your brain and say, I'm just unlocking that. That's going to be free. Not gripping in the jaw, not fixing the eyes, but allowing the neck muscles to release a bit so that the head rests on your block, on your support. And we use this thinking a lot. This thinking that we're doing is creating a much more dynamic practice. We're encouraging, we're engaging the muscles in a very different, non-doing way. And I'm going to explain now that the thinking that we do doesn't necessarily have to match the action. And since you're unlocking the top of your spine and releasing your neck, this is an ideal opportunity to move the head. And I'd like you to do two things at once here. You're going to turn your head to look towards the left. And as you do so, you're going to let go in your right shoulder. And as that head turns off and stays looking over towards the left, you're going to think of that right shoulder releasing back towards the floor, or even heading out towards the right. And then you're going to roll that head back to center again and ask your shoulders to rest. And then you'll do the same thing, but the other way. As you're looking and turning the head towards the right, you're going to leave your left shoulder alone over there, releasing, undoing, almost thinking as if it's heading out to the left. And we're going to do that again, but we're going to roll back to center first. As the head comes back to center, use that as a cue to release the shoulders, to let them rest, to ask for a softness through the tops of your arms. Then as you're looking, turning the head off towards the left, it's the right shoulder that you're attending to. You're saying, oh, that can stay over towards the right. I can think out through the right elbow, the top of the arm. You're keeping your width through your upper body. Turning your head back to center. Checking in with that top nodding joint, the top of your spine. Easy jaw, shoulders resting. Moving the head now, turning it off towards the right, leaving the left shoulder alone. So we're thinking in activity, we're thinking in our movement, and we're expanding our thought, not just where we're looking or where the head is turning, but to broader strokes through the body, rolling the head back, settling now with your eyes gently looking out at the ceiling, your jaw releasing, your shoulders resting, your spine resting. So we're going to pick a leg to work with, and actually I think let's go with the same leg. I think it makes it easier. So let's choose the right leg to start with, and you're not going to do anything with your right leg. You're just going to know that it's the one that's going to be moving. So there'll need to be a bit of unlocking around the hip. You'll want to just check with that lower spine, asking the small of the back to let go. And in a moment, you're going to fold the knee in towards you. And when you do so, you want to have a softness through the belly. It's as if you're letting the muscles in the belly kind of fall back to the floor behind you. But there's nothing, we're not sort of saying everything's going all sloppy. What we're saying is that if we can let go of the soft outer belly muscles, there's a deeper set that'll start to work. It's as if the front of your lower back wants to be widening. That's where the action is. And although we're going to move our right leg, I want you to know where your left foot is. So send a bit of your brain there. And you're going to now draw your left knee in towards your body, just like I'm sure you've done in a million classes before. And as you fold in that, I meant right, sorry. sorry everyone. Fold in your right knee towards your body and leave the left foot on the floor. Then let the right knee fall outwards and place your right foot on the left knee. So you've got a sort of a jaunty pose. Now, to make that feel balanced, you're going to probably need to move your left foot, and I do mean the left foot now, so that your legs in this weird position feel easy, and that you can rock the pelvis a little bit to the left and right. So I always need to move my supporting foot, the foot on the ground, in a little bit towards the midline, but you can work that out for yourself. The folded leg, your top leg, which is the right, that wants to be really relaxed. Nothing going on there, just really soft. The inner thigh releasing, all relaxed. You're allowing for the muscles to hang off the bones. You're allowing the bones of the thighs to drop back into the hip sockets. And then up here at the top of your spine, you're checking in with that top nodding joint, just releasing, asking for softness. Then I would ask you to just sort of sling your arms out to the side somewhere, like there are a couple of stabilizers on the ground, not too wide, but just so that you've got a bit of a sense of grounding through the arms. And gently have a little side rock through those legs and hips. You're sort of rocking the pelvis, being aware of that lower back releasing, easing. It wants to feel soft, it wants to feel easy. And then when you've brought your legs back to stillness, still in this position, but just still, we're going to lift the heel of the left foot. So the foot that's on the ground, you're going to let a pressure build through the toes and just lift that heel off the ground. Just for a moment. If your foot's very far away, you might need it a bit closer to make it easier. The closer the foot is to your bum, the easier that move is. Lift it off, drop it down again. See what you can undo in the hips, the jaw. Lift the heel off and drop it down again. And if that's really easy and you want to go further with this, the next thing we're going to do is lift the heel off and then peel the toes off and draw the legs in towards you. So you're sort of in a funny funny sort of crouching position, but lying on your back. Your outer thigh on that right leg might feel this. It might feel like a bit of a stretch. And you don't need to hold it there. You can just then drop the foot back down to the ground, softening the belly, widening the back. The belly won't soften, just to give you a clue there. But we're making sure that extra muscles aren't engaging unnecessarily. So you've got a choice now, a little bit of a side rock there, probably just to ease it all out again. Staying in the position if it's comfortable. Spreading the toes of the left foot. Really know that that ball of the foot's connected into the ground, lifting the heel off the ground. If you want to take it further, peel the toes off and draw the thighs, the legs in towards you. As they've come in, unlock that lumbosacral joint. Go down there, think about it, ask it to release. It's a thought, it's an intention. As you put the foot back on the ground, keep the freedom in the top of the spine. Unfold your legs, place that right foot back on the floor and have a little fidget. I'm very fidgety and I'm a big fan of fidget. A rocking of the pelvis, a little side rock of the legs, anything that you feel. Check in with your arms. Do they want to change position? How are we doing up at the top of the spine? So we know now that the right foot is going to stay on the ground. We're going to leave that there for a moment. We're going to draw in the left leg, folding in that left knee towards you. Pause a moment. Let the left knee fall outwards so that you can easily place the left foot on the right knee. And then work out where that right foot needs to be to best support your leg arrangement. Does it want to be closer to you? You know, toes are there for helpful walking and wiggling. You should be able to move that foot fairly easily. Take a moment to really relax through the left leg, the raised leg. You're letting the thigh muscles hang off the thigh bones. You're letting the bones drop back and into the hip sockets. Little side rock. As you do, you're giving up the waist. Don't rip in the waist. Legs back to stillness. Connecting down through the base of the toes so you can lift the heel. Have a few goes of that, lifting, raising and lowering that heel. When you're ready, and if you want to, you can draw the knees in towards you, draw the legs in, just taking that other foot off the ground. And it's sort of peeling it really. You're peeling the foot off. Don't hold it for too long. Let it go back down again. Lifting the heel, peeling the toes off as you draw the legs in towards you. Unlocking the top of the spine, checking in with that lower spine. And even as you place your feet back down on the ground, keep the length through the front of the body. Keep the ease in your jaw. When you're ready, unfold your legs. In your own time, placing your feet back on the ground and having a little fidgety side rock. So my lovely cousin calls it freestyling, when you just give yourself a moment to do something for your body, something that your body likes, whether it's rolling your arms or rocking your pelvis. When I was doing this when I was planning the class, I felt it would be a really nice thing to draw in both my knees and have a little side rock. So if you'd like to join me with that, if you're going to draw in both your knees, draw them one at a time. One foot off the ground, then the other. Have a thought to unlocking that lower spine, that lumbosacral joint. And then let the knees just loosely rock from side to side. If you need support holding your legs when they're folded in, when you're in this sort of folded in position, I think the best place to put your hands is actually on the backs or the thighs or the sides of the thighs rather than round the knees. I just think it's easier and it leaves the lower legs a bit of freedom. Yes, Ildico, exactly like that. Wonderful. And we can just let that sort of rocking ease the lower back at the same time as allowing the head its freedom. Heavy head, easy neck. When you bring your feet back to the floor, let them come back one at a time. It's less dramatic for the front of the body and you're less likely to grip with your neck. So if you haven't already ditched your blocks or your books, which some people might have because comfort is king and you're in charge of your own body, you probably want to for this next little bit, because we're going to have a little play around with bridge. And if you have very high books or blocks, then you might want to just let one go just to bring it down a smidge. And I also want you to place your feet as comfortably close to your bum as you can, really. It's sort of, you know, don't let it be a pressure through the knees, but I think, you know, as comfortable as you can, as close as you can with the feet. And I'm going to be quite specific with the arms, because if possible, I'd really like your arms by your side, not locked in, but just somewhere by your side with the palms down. Now, they don't have to be so close that they're on your mat. They can be, you know, a little distance away, but it's the palms I want, or the fingertips, or some aspect of down through the hands. And we're going to start not by coming up into bridge, but by seeing about releasing that lumbosacral joint again. We're going to just remember where the small of the back is, where that place is, and tilt the pelvis a tiny bit forwards and backwards, as if we're just sort of experimenting with flattening out the lower back and letting it curve again. So we're flattening out the lower back, and then we let it curve again. So it's just a sort of a tiny little pelvic rock. And of course, that's going to be, you know, the abdominal muscles will be, you know, useful here. They'll be helping that movement. And your intention is that the front of the body stays nice and long. And as you're doing this little rocking movement, this rocking the pelvis forwards and backwards, you're going to check in with the top of the spine as well. Seeing if you can release the jaw and allow the head that idea of releasing forwards on the spine. And I'm just going to, so Claire, not Claire W, Claire M. If you want to put your hands if you want to put your arms by your sides and just your palms down, I think you'd nipped out. you'd nipped out on the instruction. That's lovely. Yeah, that's perfect. And your feet look great because they just want to be sort of close to your bum, but not uncomfortably slow. So we're just preparing for sort of a bridge idea. And we are practicing this idea of rocking the pelvis forwards and backwards so that we're finding a way of unlocking that lumbar junction. And we're making sure that we're not allowing the head to be so governed by the movement that the chin starts to be thrust into the air. So we want a sort of sense of ease through the top of the spine. Then I'd like you to bring everything back to stillness. You're going to check in with the thigh muscles, getting them to ease a little bit, thinking of them falling from the thighs, the bones dropping into the hip sockets. You're going to ask, imagine that the belly's softening and that the back is widening. You're going to check in with your arms. Do they need a little roll, or do they need a little fidget? Are you aware of those hands? Just letting the hands softly rest on the ground. And then in a moment, you're going to draw down through your feet and allow the pelvis to come off the ground. But you're not going to hook that tail up as we were just doing. We're just going to allow it to come up in a millimeter, and then drop it back down again. And then we're going to do that again. We're drawing down through the feet and letting the pelvis come up in one, and then down again. Very small movement. And in that moment of the pelvis coming away from the ground, you're going to ask for unlocking through that lower spine. you're also going to ask for a bit of unlocking through the very top of your spine. You're going to raise and lower like a sort of peculiar rhythm, drawing down through your feet, seeing how little you can grip the legs. They just want to be very easy. Letting the spine be very easy, but it's not curling anywhere. It's just sort of soft and long and easy. And as you carry on, you might find that it becomes easier and easier to lift the pelvis further and further away from the ground. And that actually that down force through the feet, also through your shoulders, the backs of the arms, is providing a lightness through the hips. Because you're not locking up any area of the spine. That freedom that you're intending in that small of the back should be creating an ease. So you can let your pelvis come up as far as is comfortable for you, as far as you want to. That downward force being your guide here. So then you're going to finish the one that you're on. Take your time to, because it's important to honor that process. And you've got a bit of an option now of freestyling your way on around and back up to sitting. So what I would always do is I'd rock my pelvis from side to side a bit, then I'd roll on my side, and then I'd really connect with my top of the spine, base of the spine, release it, and make my way round to sitting. And I feel that we're doing quite well for time. And so if you wanted to, you don't have to unmute yourself, but sometimes it's quite nice to check in and just see how your body is, or see if you've got any questions, if there's anything that's perplexing you or troubling you. I mean, within the context of the class. Let's not go too deep. So you're very welcome if you want to unmute yourself and just to let me know really how you're getting on, how it's all panning out for you this morning. Because what we have been doing is we've been unlocking this little this whole area. And as I was just showing you there, that C curve, that C-shaped curve, you know, there's a place for it in our world. Everyone's so obsessed with not wanting to slump and all of that. But there's a usefulness in all of this. And in a moment, we're going to have a look at the Sphinx position. So I'm just going to show you a couple of things. When we're preparing for it, I'm hoping that this isn't going to bugger up the microphone sound as I lie on it. When we're preparing for it, we're going to lie on our front. And I would normally, for me, I'd have a cushion under here. If I do that, it really will bugger up the microphone. So I have a cushion under there because my shoulders always need a bit of support. We're then going to throw our arms out the front and put the backs, or roughly the backs of our hands together. And in this position, we're going to rest. Now you can see from the shape of me that gravity is wanting to pull my back into a secondary curve. So it's wanting to pull that primary curve into a secondary curve. The lumbar arch is really pronounced. But we're going to hold the intention of releasing and allowing that primary curve. We're not going to do something. I'm not going to try and round my back. It's going to be the intention that there's a soft primary curve. Okay. this one. And in the head position, we're letting the forehead rest on the ground. And again, that's encouraging the curve this way, the primary curve through the neck. So everything's so complicated when I have to describe it. So then we're going to take our arms and we're going to leave them in this position for a moment whilst we open our eyes or just start to look in front of us. So I'm looking at my mat and I raised my head a little, but you can see it's still, I'm still looking down towards my chest and the mat. I'm then going to be starting to be really interested, as if I'm a baby, trying to lift my head, and I'm sort of wanting to go forwards. So I'm really thinking about going forwards at the same time as drawing the arms back. And then when they feel that they're really kind of comfortably under you, you can actually then finally, if you want to, bring yourself up a little bit further. So it's a sort of a many-part maneuver. There is a further option, but we'll just see how we get on with that. Does anyone want to ask anything before I talk you through it? I will obviously talk you through it. So yes, getting with ourselves. Now, because we are going to be lying face down, you know, some people find that really comfortable, some people hate it, you know. So again, if at any point you want to roll on your side and take a break, then do, because we'll do it a couple of times. So we're going to be lying face down, and the thigh bones are nice and heavy, and they're squishing through the front of your thighs. And your pelvis is nice and heavy, and it's resting down. And to begin with, you can just have your arms sort of, you know, just somewhere flung up by your head. Don't worry too much about the complicatedness of it, because I'd like you to really find a way of softening through that very lower part of your spine, the base of your spine. And in your mind, you can imagine that tailbone, that sacrum bone and tailbone are curving round down and through between your legs towards the floor. And it's all it is. It's a sort of a soft imagining. We're not doing anything. We're not engaging any muscles to pull it there or anything like that. We're saying that we're lying here, allowing a soft lower back. It's lengthening over the back of your bum, round through and down through the legs. That tail dropping through the legs. And somewhere up at the other end of the spine, we've got the idea that the head is releasing forwards so that the forehead is resting on the ground. The jaw releasing, unlocking the top of that spine. Don't forget to breathe. If it's possible, if it's comfortable for you, I want you to bring your backs of the hands together, there forwards in front of your head, or above your crown, in fact, isn't it, on the floor. If it doesn't feel good for you, then you can just leave your arms facing forwards. Before you think about moving, we're really thinking about what we are. We're pretending to be these kind of babies, really interested in life. So we're asking for that softness through the base of the spine, the unlocking through the top of the spine. And we're just lifting the head a little bit off the ground. You're still looking at the mat, and do look at it with your eyes.
Even allow your peripheral vision to check out the armpit area, the gap under your arms. Then start to let your eyes make their way forwards as if they're looking down the mat towards the hands. As you're looking towards your hands, you're going to start to draw back as if your shoulder blades and your upper arm bones are the action here. They're drawing their way back underneath you. So your elbows end up under your shoulders and your palms end up face down on the mat. You're still looking down towards the mat. Then eventually you allow the head and the eyes to look forwards. Really have the intention that you're leaving the legs behind, you're leaving the pelvis behind, the soft tail, base of spine, and your intention is that your forward direction is just through the head and the chest. To come out of it, you can either slide your hands back forwards again or just spread your elbows out. So unless you're very flexible in the spine, I would now just roll over onto your side. If you're really flexible in the spine, you won't have minded any of that at all. But rolling onto your side, taking a moment to draw your knees in, either remaining on your side or rolling all the way onto your back, I don't mind. Just a soft curve through that lumbar spine. Do feel free to support your head with the other arm. And you're taking a moment to let it soften through the base of the spine. Then we're going to roll our way back out, face down, back into that prone position. And even though you know the journey now, you know the process, you still give yourself the time to softly think of the primary curve. Although the gravity is pulling your lower back into a secondary curve, you're thinking of that lovely lower back releasing down over the back of the sacrum, down through the tail, a softness. Really let the thighs squish into the ground. They're really heavy. Let them be heavy. The jaws releasing to help the top of the spine unlock. The forehead's resting on the mat. And you're looking with your eyes as wide as you can through your peripheral vision, as if you're sort of imagining everything really out towards the elbows. You can have the backs of your hands pressed together with the arms in front of you, or you can just leave them in the forward position. I don't mind, whatever suits you. When you feel ready to go, you start with that. Eyes are leading the way. They start looking along your mat. When you can see the hands, you then draw the shoulder blades back. You pull to the elbows, drawing the arms under you. The forearms resting on the ground. But you don't let the head look up until you're comfortable. When you've got those elbows tidily under you, that's when you can release down through the pelvis, softening the belly and raising up through the upper body. Yeah, that's nice. Take your time to come out of it. Stay in it, whatever suits you.
It's their shoulder blades releasing back behind you that makes the difference. Roll over if you wanted to come out of it rolling on your side. If you're having another quick go, then go for it, but don't make it too quick. So if you haven't already rolled onto your side, then do so. Giving a little bit of space, a little bit of ease through that lower spine. When you're ready, you're going to continue to roll over and bring yourself into an all fours position. When you get into your all fours position, don't rush, by the way, but just saying when you do get there, you're going to let yourself rock a little bit forwards and backwards, very small, tiny movements. Your shoulders want to be over your hands, your hips over your knees, so that those vertical bones are really supportive. Then we take the weight a little bit back over the hips so that the shoulders and arms can let go a bit of a fidget. Bring your weight over to the hands and arms so you can let go through the pelvis, a bit of a fidget, whatever you need. Soft through the pubic bone, let it go. Soft belly, wide back. Have a little bit of a forwards, backwards rock. As you rock back, you're releasing out through the tail. As you rock forwards, you're releasing out through the crown. Always asking for that release in the top of the spine and the base of the spine. Then you're going to reverse your thinking. As you rock backwards, you're thinking out through the crown. As you rock forwards, you're thinking out through the tail. When you would like, you're going to come back into either the full forward rest, sort of child pose, or if that doesn't suit your body, you can drop your elbow and put it where your hand was on each side to be in sort of the dolphin, the half forward rest. Lying in this forward position is a really good opportunity for allowing that top of the spine to release, to allow the base of the spine to release. The two ends of the spine that are that have got the movement, allow the movement to be there. Allow the head to fall away from the top of the spine, whether you're in a full forward rest or a half. Allow the lumbosacral joint to really soften and release. Remind yourself that the thigh bones release up into the hip sockets, and that the jaw and the breastbone and the pubic bone fall away to the ground. Your shoulder blades releasing back up towards the ceiling, not doing anything here, just having that thought, lightness through the shoulder blades. And then when you're ready, you can make an awareness through the hands. Draw the hands close to you and use them to Press down through the ground so you can raise the body away from the ground. Pressing down to, yeah, lovely. So we're going to go into a relaxation now, and you can gather anything you need, but also if you want to ask any questions at this point, you're more than welcome as well. I think it's difficult on the Zoom, isn't it? Because we've got this sort of an unnatural situation where normally you could just speak. And find for yourself whatever support you need, whether you need the comfort of a lot of warm things, or whether you need the comfort of cushions, blocks, whatever you like. And because of the moves we've been doing today, you can either start your relaxation position in semi-supine. In fact, yes, let's do that. Let's all just have our little feet on the ground just for a moment, just for a starting moment. So you're allowing the very top of your spine to become your aware moment. Say hello again to the top of your spine, within your skull, right up there by the jaw, right up there, almost by the ears, in fact. And as you're asking for that top of the spine to release, you're going to imagine that the whole column of the neck, the whole upper spine rests back now, as if the very top of the spine rests back to the back of your skull. And as you're letting the very top of your spine rest back to the back of your skull, you'll notice that the shoulders can rest, the ribs can rest. Give up holding the side of your waist. Give up holding the belly. Softening your belly, asking the back to widen. Become aware again of that lumbosacral junction, the small of your back. How is it feeling? Is it tingly and full of blood because we've had lots of movement? Is it feeling a little achy because it hasn't had a lot of movement before? Or is it just feeling free and easy and good? Keeping your thoughts in the pelvis, keeping your thoughts at the tops of the thighs, asking them to let go. If it suits your body and you'd like to do so, let one of your legs slide out and stretch out into a full extension. If you have let one of your legs slide out, pause for a moment. Take your awareness through the thigh, softening the top of the thigh, releasing under the knee. Allowing the back muscles to adjust and change to this extended leg. As you let the other leg slide out, be aware of the changing back muscles as high up as the back of your diaphragm. That's almost to your bra line. If your hands are on top of your body, just let them slide off now and hit the floor. so that you can feel the backs of the hands or the sides of the hand in contact with the ground. Letting the elbows rest into the ground, the upper arm bones. Asking for something to give up between your shoulder blades. Imagining that the shoulder blades are falling away from you, the shoulder blades falling down into the ground. And as they fall, they relinquish the grip on the back of your neck. As the back of the neck softens, there's more room for the nodding joint to release. Know where your forehead is. Imagine that somebody is smoothing away the wrinkles in the forehead. From the center, smoothing them outwards down to the hairline. Imagine that your left ear is falling back towards the floor. That the right ear is falling back towards the floor. Easy breathing. Soft belly. Wide back. Don't fight with the pelvis. Allow it to be wherever it needs to be. Allow the energy of the legs to flow through them. The energy of the legs to flow down, past your knees, through your calves, and out through somewhere in your feet. Even if it's the backs of your heels falling into the ground. As if you're letting go of all the used up, spent, old energy. Pouring out into the ground. It's precisely 11:30. You may stay there lying on the floor if that suits you, if your day allows. But if you have another thing to get to, remember that rolling on your side and taking the time to get up again is a way of honoring your body. I look forward to seeing you all next week.